Welcome to part 4. And the last one I said we would talk about 2010. 2010 was an incredibly busy year. Probably as many documents, as probably the 3 or 4 years prior to that, all combined, to no avail. I had told you about the inclinometers and the bubble inclinometers, and that's what they look like in use. And as you can see, you have a lower one down around the cervical area. The upper one is up at L1. You stand up straight, they zero them, and then as you bend forward, the lower one will basically tell the technician how much you bent at the hip. Whatever that value is, they will subtract from the one up on your L1 area, and that will give you the actual flexion. So that's kind of how it works. Anyway, the end of the year, I said that Mrs. Dingfield, the decision review officer, had sent the minutes from the DRO hearing, which is basically just that. It's just the minutes. There's no decision. That's not the statement of claim yet. In that letter, she had basically informed me that she had sent the paperwork over to the Veterans Hospital to establish an appointment for a full physical, and I would probably be hospitalized for 2 to 3 days as they ran all these different tests to establish a benchmark, basically find out if there's anything they could do that hadn't been done by my private doctors. She doubted that, but I thought that was a good thing to do. Meantime, unbeknownst to me, until October of 2010, I kept wondering why I never had an appointment to go to the hospital. I also sent letters over to the VA asking them why I wasn't getting any information relative to the statement of claim. And it was not until May that I finally get this statement of claim, and it basically substantiates whatever Crosman did in his June of 2009 evaluation. The strange thing is, it's not written by Mrs. Dingfield. It's basically written in the first person by Dr. Bertram Quasman, which is illegal. And he could only do that if he had the help of someone in the Veterans Administration, and the guy that signed the letter was none other than Jeffrey McAdams. Now, I wrote a letter then, July 23rd, to Gabriel Perez, who is the director of the Medical Center for the Veterans Administration. And I basically told him that I was unhappy with the exam, that his doctor was a criminal, he was a liar. I mean, I couldn't have made it any more simple for him. And I gave him this package, which has the evidence. It has the physical restrictions, the physical conditions that he put in versus my doctors, the chronological report, which was something that the doctors, 5 doctors, put together from that 70-page document I showed you earlier that had all the medical records in it. They were asked specific questions, and how they reacted to that. It also included not only the medical restrictions effective of 2004 from Dr. McDermott, but it also included the medical restrictions that I had shown, excuse me, starting in 2008, and then updated it per Mrs. Dingfield's request at the end of 2009 with this list, which goes on to the back as well. Anything you see in red is a permanent restriction. So basically these restrictions are from Dr. McDermott in 2004 and Dr. Dana in 2007, and they include stand for less than 30 minutes occasionally. That's as long as I can stand. Walk for less than 30 minutes occasionally. Kneel never, crawl never, squat never, bend back less than 0.3 hours. That was from Dr. Data. Carry up to 10 pounds occasionally, carry up to 25 pounds never, lift up to 50 pounds never, lift less than 40 pounds occasionally, sit from 0 to 1 hours occasionally, climb stairs never, climb ladders never, use high impact tools never, and then I could use low impact like palm sanders or things like this, and forceful grasping. In this, I basically list, what I cannot do, things the veteran can no longer do that he did prior to disability, which I was asked to do by Mrs. Dingfield. Even with the written instructions from the doctor, This also includes body functions I can no longer control, like bowels, release and urinating. Bladder does not warn. Feet movement. I mean, my legs go all over the place. I don't have control of my legs when I get up or walk. I have to regain my balance. If I close my eyes, I'll fall down. I need the vision to maintain my balance, because the equilibrium basically sends signals, but there's only half the nerves left, and only half of those are functioning at 50%. So the signals will go down. But if you think you're falling to the left and your body reacts from this sensory section, it'll just keep you going to the left, and down you go. I have a hard time in the shower when I'm washing my hair. I've learned to keep an elbow or something on the wall so I know if I'm going someplace. Dr. McDermott will basically say there is no medical evidence to support any of that. And again, his word is it. Now, I sent a letter to Gabriel Perez, the director of the hospital here in Phoenix. Like I said, and I told him what a lowlife this guy was. Now, he sent me back a letter 3 months later to the day. So in October I get a letter from him, and he basically says, thanks for sending us a letter, sorry you weren't happy with your examination, blah blah blah, dissatisfaction with your compensation and pension, which is a CMP, on June 1 of 2009. He had consulted with the acting chief of Health Administration Services, Sheila Kane. Your letter stated you did not feel Dr. Bertram Crosman performed a proper physical examination, falsified your statements, and filed false findings relative to your June 1 CMP examination. Sound like pretty serious charges to me. If I was the boss, I wouldn't take that very lightly. But unfortunately, Mr. Perez does. He basically just says, I regret you're dissatisfied with Dr. Crosman's examination and report. Mrs. Kane informs me a veteran may file. I told him I'd filed my Form 9. I'd gone through the DRO process, and he's telling me now I can go do all that. That's how much attention he paid to any of this. Now he helps me out. He said the review of your medical records demonstrates that on January 7, 2010, Dr. Crosman reviewed the June 1, 2009 report and found no inconsistencies. Why now is Dr. Crosman, just out of the blue, pulling my medical reports and reviewing his report? Could it be that when Mrs. Dingfield sent the request for this total examination, and her report basically states that she was unhappy with Dr. Crosman, basically agreeing with me, that he intercepted that, and that's why that appointment was never made? Now it even goes further. That's an assumption on my part. I mean, I get that impression. That's what Crosman works on, impressions. It goes one step further, though. And what's an inconsistency? Isn't that when there's the two things don't match? He said he looked at one report and found no inconsistencies. How do you find no inconsistencies in one set of rules? Maybe he doesn't understand English. Him or Perez. The medical records also indicate Dr. Joseph Kennedy performed another CMP examination on July 24, 2010. That's true. That's absolutely true. It's a Saturday morning, 7:30, and I report to a subclinic back behind the main hospital. I walk in the door. I have to walk across the parking lot with my cane. I'm having a hard time that morning. There's an old man standing in the lobby watching me. There's nobody else there. The lobby's dark. It's Saturday. But I didn't set it up. They just told me to report. I asked him if he knows where this clinic is, and he says, come on, I'll take you to it. Old guy. Probably my age. Probably about, well, he's probably about 7 years older. We walk back into this reception area, large area. There's a gentleman sitting behind the desk taking information from a veteran that's filling out some forms. This old guy says, just come with me, and he goes over and he whips his card down. We open this door, we go back in, and we walk into this office, and it's for Dr. Joseph Kennedy. Excuse me. Now, the significant thing about this is, Perez is telling me the medical records also indicates Dr. Joseph Kennedy performed another CMP examination on July 24th, 2010. What Mr. Perez doesn't know or fails to say is, yeah, that's true. I was there for my right shoulder to be looked at for my surgery in 1961. Thanks for watching this one. In the next one, we're kind of going to get into some more detail through 2010, and we're going to take a look at some of the more serious offenses that Crosman and McAdams. Please give me your comments and send this to a vet. Thanks a lot.